Chapter 91. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seriously, Steve had been shot, and finally burned through the last of whatever funk had been weighing him down. He shook his head, hauling himself to his feet. This era's way more intense than I figured. The world's changing fast, Captain. Faster than you can imagine. Nick Fury approached, offering a hand. Which is why we need you. Steve hesitated. Lu Dan was thrown for a loop, still not back in the game. Cap should be all over this, Steve chuckled, shaking his head as he grabbed Fury's hand and pulled himself up. Don't think you can just haul me around. Whoa. You're actually Captain America. Tony landed beside them. Hard to believe. Steve nodded. There's a lot you wouldn't believe, like you. Fury gestured toward Tony. This is Tony Stark, Howard's son. Memories flickered in Steve's eyes as he took in Tony's armored suit. You're just as much a genius as your father. Thanks, I get that a lot. Tony grinned, already lost in thought. But I'll prove I'm even better. Fury turned back to Steve. You've got a lot to catch up on, Captain. I'll send over a file. Tony, you get a copy too. Ding dong, a soft chime broke the silence of the cleared street. Tony and the others turned to see Ye Li, back in his usual clothes, sitting at an outdoor table outside a coffee shop. He tapped a silver spoon lightly against a porcelain cup. Could I get a copy too, Director Fury? Li, Tony spoke first. What are you doing here, Ye Li? Ye Li chuckled. Is it so weird to find me in front of my own coffee shop, Tony? Well, perfect timing to remind me of this. Tony tapped his gauntlet, projecting a scanned image of the Battle of New York. Fury, Li said he could show you this. Think you'll like it? Lu Dan, seriously. You're pitching art now. Fury, ever the diplomat, said, wow, Mr. Ye's work is certainly striking. But you know, I'm kind of swamped at the moment. That's. Steve was riveted. The rising blue light felt too much like when Red Skull got zapped by the Tesseract. He reached out, wanting a closer look at the projection. *ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ Steve, assuming it was just Stark being Stark, said, Mr. Stark. Mr. Stark. What was that about? Fury, thinking Rogers liked the piece, added, show some respect, Tony. Seriously? Not even Cap thinks he's that old. Besides, Tony countered, then addressed Rogers directly, Director Nick gets a free peek. Another look and I'm charging you, Cap, consider this a bonus. With that, Tony flew over to where Ye Li sat, handing him a small data pad. He saw it. Li wasn't blown away. You're on your own with the SHIELD sales pitch. Gotta run, new clean energy for Stark Tower, date with Pepper. Ye Li clicked the pad, pulling up the Battle of New York scan. So. Where's the actual painting? Stark Tower. Grab it when you get a chance. Gotta bolt. Tony took off with noticeable haste. Ye Li's spider sense tingled. He saw a flash of Tony holding the painting, followed by a ripping sound from the wind. Chairman Yi. Fury sat down across from him. While you've declined to join us officially, I'll still send you the file. It's related to a SHIELD initiative. Hope we can find some common ground. I'll have Agent Romanoff contact you about the specifics. Ye Li glanced at Captain America beside Fury. Let's talk after I've read the file. Called it, has to be the Avengers Initiative. Braised Eggs angle is clear. 2. Recruit a superhero to the team, even a Black Widow. Ye Li had no intention of joining, but information on the Avengers never hurt. Ghost Spider Club, in the members-only lounge. Okay, let's recite. Gwen sat on a yoga mat, radiating calm, speaking clearly. Xuanzong of heaven and earth, my fundamental root, cultivate my dharma extensively and prove my supernatural powers. Cindy, beside her in the same pose, stumbled along. Xuanzong of heaven and earth. Wonkabenjin. Guangxiu. Expand my method. Prove my magical powers. Her voice was soft and hesitant, far from Gwen's smooth recitation. Cindy, it's not enough to just read the words. You need to feel what they mean. Gwen opened her hands, wisps of golden light appearing, then thinning. Finally, the golden light solidified into fine golden threads like spider silk, dancing in her hands. Perseverance paid off. Gwen had mastered the golden light spell. Maybe it was the mutation, but she was a natural, progressing rapidly, even developing her own method for weaving golden light into spider silk. This was thanks to Ye Li, who had patiently explained the intricacies of the golden light spell, personally pinpointing all the key acupoints. Okay. Cindy nodded. If this makes me stronger, I'll work hard. Gwen asked with concern, is this Morlun guy you mentioned really that powerful? You've been worried sick lately, and that's not good. I don't know for sure. But I occasionally sense the terrible cries of totems from another world. It's chilling. Morlun had become Cindy's obsession. Before, she only worried about herself. Now, she had to think about Ye Li and Gwen, fellow spider totems. Gwen squeezed Cindy's hand, reassuring her. Don't worry. Li, me, and Jessica will help you. Cindy glanced at Ye Li playing with Skye. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. In her heart, she vowed, I'll protect you, too. Almost there. Almost there. The screen's flickering light reflected off Skye's pale face. She typed frantically, saying, I'm just about to. Got it. Ye Li hit the enter key. And I'm done again. Ugh. Skye groaned. Why are you always faster? Ye Li grinned. Just willing to admit defeat. Gwen and Cindy are right here. Skye practically disappeared under the desk. Isn't this awkward? Nah, they've seen weirder things. Ye Li soothed Skye, scrolling through the hacked information. New semester at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Bot International Secret Drug Development fails again. Sir Reginald Hargreaves launches the Umbrella Academy. Residents of Hawkins, Indiana report a possible dimensional rift, later debunked. Emperor Project declassified and restarted. Ye Li hadn't paid much attention before, but since meeting Matilda, he'd been monitoring certain patterns. Turns out he was right, this world wasn't just Marvel. It was a mishmash of weirdness. Xavier's school was one thing, the X-Men were basically Marvel's cousins, but the rest? Whatever. We're just a superhero fan page anyway. Ignoring for now, Ye Li backed up the data. He was curious, sure, but planned to check it out later. Right now he had other priorities. Loading. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Avengers Initiative had arrived. Same old stuff. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America. No Black Widow or Hawkeye intel, and Captain America was light on details. Fury wasn't an idiot. He was holding back. Ye Li looked down at Skye. Where's Barbara? Under the shrimp. Skye thought Ye Li was heading downstairs, and started to relax, but then he stayed put and she rolled her eyes. Ye Li, just asking. Skye. Hell's Kitchen. Matilda. Jessica, decked out in a light brown plaid detective suit and newsboy cap, collar turned up to hide the lower half of her face, put on a mysterious air. You sure you want to be a superhero? Matilda nodded fiercely. Yeah, she clutched the Meow Meow ball to her chest. If the round sphere were made of crystal, she'd look like a tiny fortune teller. Okay, then I'm taking you to raid a place I just found. Jessica scooped up her sister. The little boots kicked up silver sparks as they hit the ground. The next moment, they were on a rooftop. The silver sparks flickered as they hopped from building to building, quietly approaching a dingy factory. Check it out. Jessica put Matilda on her shoulders. We're going to shut this down. From that height, Matilda could see inside through a gap in the window. They exist. Inside the factory, rows of people stood dully, eyes glazed, mechanically sorting and packaging white powder. Most of them were Asian, and all of them looked blind. Armed gang members patrolled, acting as supervisors and guards. What are we going to do, Jessica? Matilda's eyes burned with rage. These white powders had destroyed her family. Jessica pulled out a cigarette and put it in her mouth, but didn't light it. You want to make a plan to take down the bad guys, like in the cartoons? Yeah. Jessica frowned, eyes shining with insight, and spoke in a detective-like tone. I have a plan already. Matilda perked up, excited. What is it? Jessica said matter-of-factly, we go in. Huh? Yeah. What the hell? Gunfire. Shoot them. It's lightning, asterisk rat tat 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 tat, star dot asterisk ding-ling-ling, star, scattered lightning blocked the bullets, and the meow meow ball turned into a ball of lightning, floating into the factory, carefully avoiding the workers and striking the gang members. Mortals were defenseless against that kind of power. The villains opened fire, only to scream in pain. Once most of the bad guys were down, Jessica moved in, impressed by her sister. Yeah, meow. Matilda waved her hand, the lightning dissipating, swirling back into the ball in her arms. Jessica looked at the workers. Since you're blind, get out of here. A few seconds passed. Jessica glanced at the workers, who were still frozen in place. They'd been doing this for too long to react quickly. She rolled her eyes, put on a tough face, and yelled in a cute voice, get out. The workers snapped out of it, groping and stumbling away, quickly scattering. Seriously. A gangster lying in the corner raised his gun, trembling, aiming at Jessica. Clang! Jessica kicked a discarded pistol, the iron mass hitting the firearm in his hand. Boom! A loud sound, the gangster's shot went wild, hitting the ceiling. Click! By then, Jessica was already at his side, kicking him in the neck, asterisk bang 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 star. Applause came from the factory entrance. Mrs. Gao walked in, flanked by ninjas. Jessica Yi, you're far more ruthless than the rumors say. Hard to believe you're just a high school student. About to graduate. Jessica met her gaze, glanced at the ninjas, and teased, thought the hand was dead. What's a dinosaur like you doing here? Heh heh. You know nothing about your enemies. Mrs. Gao remained calm, but her eyes turned colder. Our power is beyond your imagination. I advise you to stop meddling in my affairs. I hear you have a perfectly ordinary brother, Come get some. In a flash, Jessica rushed forward, and the ninjas moved to intercept her, but Jessica's strength was far beyond theirs, and thanks to Yi Li's guidance, her martial arts skills were superior. The ninjas' only advantage was gone. With a series of thuds, the ninjas were sent flying, coughing up blood, barely breathing. Mrs. Gao's aged eyes narrowed. She spun, in a gap between Jessica's moves. She suddenly raised her hand. A palm strike shot through the air. Bang! Jessica crossed her arms, sent flying backward. What was that? The old woman actually had superpowers. Her brother was right, the world's a crazy place. Mrs. Gao, pleased with her hit, pulled a long sword from her cane, pointing it at Jessica with a sneer. I told you, you can't imagine our strength. Boom! Crash! She didn't finish her sentence. A thick beam of blue and white lightning erupted, blasting the old woman into the wall, then shooting out of the factory. Jessica was stunned, turning to see Matilda holding the meow meow ball to her chest. The hovering ball slowed its rotation, the mysterious spell fading away. Her sister looked over, the girl looked down at the metal ball in her hand. He trotted outside again to check on Mrs. Gao, who had been chopped into pieces of coke. At last, her soft lips moved and she said to Jessica, no, I didn't expect it to be so powerful. When I saw her take you out, I thought it was quite powerful. Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why's this thing got so much juice? Jessica said, poking at the meow ball. Did my brother really dig this up at an antique store? She frowned. I bet Black Spider gave it to him, just like that giant, destroyer, stomping around the manor all the time. Matilda blinked, and the metal ball in her hand sparked, lighting the cigarette she'd been holding in her mouth. I'm just a good kid who likes smokes, honest. Rumble. A slight tremor shook the ground, startling the sisters. Jessica, what's going on, Matilda? Did you blow something up? Dunno. Matilda exhaled a small puff of smoke, took the cigarette out of her mouth, and said doubtfully, "I don't think so." She wasn't sure if she'd used too much power. "Wait. Something's off." Jessica shot into the sky. "Let's check it out from above." Matilda tilted her head, hugged the meow ball, and flew up after her, using its power to boost her. They flew higher and higher, and after reaching a certain height, they finally saw what was happening. The ground was collapsing in on itself, a massive sinkhole spreading rapidly outwards. It was far away, but they were still shocked. "Matilda, is that an earthquake?" "Nah. Probably not." Jessica watched for a moment. The pit stopped spreading after a while. "Look, it stopped." She sighed in relief. If it hadn't, she would have had to tell Ye Li and Gwen to get everyone out of New York. "Skye, dinner time." Outside the bathroom. Ye Li leaned against the wall, waiting. "I'm taking you out tonight. Gwen and the others are waiting." "Okay Tui." Skye, rinsing her mouth inside, spat out a little complaint. "You're such a jerk, Li. You always tease me." Ye Li chuckled. "Well, you won't leave home base, so what did you expect?" "Huh." Someone was being sneaky and acting obedient. Suddenly, he felt a jolt. The powerful thunder spell he'd put on the meow ball had been triggered. What kind of trouble are Matilda and the others in now? Ye Li wondered. Didn't the second sister say she was taking the little one to be her detective sidekick? You defeated Jessica Ye's nemesis, Madame Gao, one of the hand's 5 fingers. As her guardian, choose one of the following rewards. 1. Monetary reward, $1 million. 2. Random reward, Yu-Gi-Oh! Complete gift set. 3. Servant reward, transform Madame Gao into an absolutely loyal subordinate. 430 What the heck is going on? Ye Li thought for a moment. He figured it out pretty quickly. Matilda must have taken down Madame Gao with the thunder spell. He'd set that up, so, technically, he'd stolen the kill, but what was up with this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Complete gift set? Ye Li suspected it was like the Captain America action figure, Tifa's photo, and Jingshuang's soda, just a regular item, and Madame Gao was pretty useless. Summoning a weak old lady? He'd rather play cards, so, he chose, 2. Yu-Gi-Oh! Complete gift set has been distributed. Open it. Yes. Card set has been distributed. Dual disc has been distributed. Holographic simulation device has been distributed. Choose initial installation location for holographic simulation device. Whoa. A holographic simulation device, too? Ye Li thought the system would just give him a few cards, maybe a Blue Eyes White Dragon or 2, but this was way better. This thing wasn't just for playing cards, it'd be great for combat training too, so, he chose to install it directly in the club's large training room. Almost instantly, the system installed everything, complete with a lifetime warranty. Gotta say, you can't find a more conscientious businessman than that. Outside the collapsing cosmic cube research base. God damn it. Nick Fury, in the helicopter, watched Loki escape with the cube. He yelled at the pilot, "Fire! Light him up! Sir, this is an emergency escape chopper." The pilot looked embarrassed. "It's not an armed helicopter. No weapons. Forget it. I'll do it myself." Bam! Fury, furious, kicked open the hatch, grabbed his little pistol, aimed at the traitor pilot Hawkeye driving Loki, and started shooting. Bang, bang, bang. Director Fury's aim was decent, but the shield car Hawkeye had stolen was high quality, and the bullets bounced off the bulletproof glass. Loki, in the back, glanced at the angry black braised egg, lifted the Mind Stone scepter, and blasted the helicopter. Boom. The helicopter spun out of control and crashed. The black braised egg rolled across the ground. He could only fire a few helpless shots at the fleeing Loki. "Sir." Coulson's voice came over the comm. "Director Fury, can you hear me?" Fury, seething inside, kept his cool and ordered, "Coulson, get back to base and sound a level 7 alert. From now on, we're at war." The next day, I summoned Dragon Mage Guardian in attack mode. In the center of the arena. Roar, that the virtual projection device projected lifelike game monsters, and the roars were deafening. Yi Li placed the card face down on the dual plate and said, activate the effect. Discard a card from my hand, add a miracle fusion from the deck to my hand, and then activate. After the round, Tony, on the other side, Tony also wore a dual plate and looked uncertainly at the cards. This. He was about to play the ancient mechanical giant. Sir, Coulson from S.H.I.E.L.D. is calling. Jarvis, Tony, are you kidding me? You call now. Coulson, Tony, I need to meet with you immediately. Tony, I'm busy right now. Hold your horses and wait. Coulson, it's an emergency, beep. Meanwhile, Yi Li also received a call. Hey, Natasha, I think you're going to tell me it's an emergency too. Natasha, yes, it's very urgent. Can we meet? Are you free? Yi Li, oh, sorry. I'm busy playing cards. Natasha, playing cards? That's right, playing cards. Yi Li, Tony's right here. He's having a blast. Want to play a round? Natasha. Outside the club's main hall. Hey, Ned, that's not fair, man. Peter complained. That's not in the Li rulebook. Why can't my monster beat yours? Because my monster can fly, and yours can't. Ned said without a moment's hesitation. You think this is real life or something? Peter retorted, no way. The Green Goblin can fly, and Spider-Man still kicks his butt. Ned shrugged and asked, can your monster shoot webs? Peter, you're cheating. Click. The glass door opened, striking auburn hair caught everyone's attention. Ooh. A looker. Welcome. The members of the Ghost Spider Club were fairly well behaved. They gave the Black Widow a warm welcome, admiring her without saying anything inappropriate. New face. Here to sign up. A man, trying to be a gentleman, explained to Natasha, actually, you can register online. No need to come in person. What are you, an idiot? Another member in a floral shirt raised his deck. If this beauty didn't come here, how else would we get to meet her today? Beautiful lady, what's your name? Wanna have a thrilling duel? Duel? Natasha didn't give her name, but glanced around. This is a lot more laid back than I expected. Of course. Mary Jane spoke up. Everyone's here to have fun, not military training. Natasha smiled slightly. Then Barbara must be having a great time. You here to see Barbara? She's. Jane, shush. Barbara pushed open the door to the inner hall, signaling Mary Jane to be quiet, then waved to Natasha. Come on in. Natasha walked towards the inner hall, and when she got closer, she asked Barbara, why not call me by my name? Barbara, I thought you wanted to keep it secret. Where is everyone else? Still playing cards. It's an intense moment. And Mr. Stark? Oh, no, Mr. Stark left. His little girlfriends are in the president's private lounge playing cards together. Natasha hesitated. Really? Barbara was convinced. Totally. I can hear them slamming their cards on the table. They must be getting destroyed. Natasha. Are you serious right now? In the president's private lounge, Gwen, Jessica, and Felicia were all sitting next to Yi Li. Skye and Cindy sat on the couch, pretending to look at the Yu-Gi-Oh cards on the table, looking a bit out of place. Something's off. Hard to say what. Gwen. Yi Li put his arm around the beauty's soft shoulders and asked, why are you all wearing high school uniforms today? Because high school's almost over. Gwen straightened her outfit and smiled sweetly. We wanted to wear these uniforms, we hardly ever used one last time. Yi Li felt a surge of excitement. You gonna wear them for the next few days? Huh? Gwen was putting on her JK black stockings, a little surprised by the question. Yeah. What's up? If Master likes it. Felicia gently swayed her cat ear headband. crawled gracefully from the other side of the sofa, and put her hands on Ye Li's shoulders. We can wear whatever we want. Ahem. Jessica coughed twice, reminding them to stay grounded. Not everything goes. Listening to the lovely voices of different girls, Ye Li glanced at the duel cards scattered on the table and smiled happily. Playing cards with beautiful girls was really wonderful. But trouble was on the way. Tuck tuck tuck. A knock on the door. Barbara's voice came from outside. Li, Natasha's here. From S.H.I.E.L.D. Ye Li looked at Gwen and Felicia. You guys hide. Their superhero identities were still secret, so they couldn't let the Black Widow find out. Whoosh. Gwen, whoosh. Jessica, ta. Felicia, whoosh. Cindy, Skye didn't have any superpowers yet, so she was a little slower. She sat there, unsure. Do I need to hide? Ye Li, ah. No need. Whoosh. Why? Skye, before he could finish, Gwen and Cindy shot webs and pulled Skye away. Ye Li. What was that supposed to mean? Can I come in, Mr. Yi? Outside the door, Natasha knocked and asked. Come in. Click. Natasha opened the door. Before she stepped inside, Barbara gave her a go-get look. Bang. Natasha closed the door again. Ye Li chuckled and gestured to the spot where Cindy had been sitting. Have a seat. Natasha sat down and looked around, subtly assessing the room. This feels familiar. The last time we talked in Ye Li's room, it was the same. Why does it always feel like this when I'm alone with him? A certain veteran agent was about to have a change of heart. Next, it was just a tedious conversation. Black Widow kept talking. Ye Li, growing tired of it, interrupted. Agent Natasha, so Fury wants the club to send a superhero to join his Avengers alliance, right? It's the Avengers. Natasha said earnestly, it would be best if we could contact Black Spider. This is a global event, so you need to be careful. Oh, come on, Ye Li thought, even if the Chitauri army's nuclear bombs don't affect the whole world, why all the fuss about it now? Black Spider is out of the question, and I wouldn't let the girls join Fury's big boy league. It's the Avengers. Natasha corrected again. She was still trying to follow the script, but somehow, it had turned into a big boy league. Relax, Agent Romanoff. Ye Li leaned back on the sofa, relaxing. I can recommend a candidate, but whether or not he wants to join is up to him. Natasha, who is it? Daredevil, Matt Murdock. He. Black Widow barely recognized the name. After searching, she found information about Daredevil and hesitated. But he's not on the original list. I'll have to talk to Fury about this. And he might not even want to join. Ye Li knew Murdock wouldn't join the Avengers. Suggesting him was just a distraction. Miss Natasha, we're done talking about this. Would you like to enjoy the night sky with me for a while? Ye Li reached out his hand. Natasha's eyes flickered. This could be an opportunity. After some internal debate, she smiled and took his hand. Does Big Brother want to take her to the roof? Jessica jumped up. That doesn't sound good. Cindy was a little worried. Will anything happen to Li? Okay. Gwen picked up the game cards scattered on the table. Li must know what he's doing. He's smart. He won't be manipulated by S.H.I.E.L.D. Humph. Skye smiled. Master's virtue is not necessarily. The girls started chatting. Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And we're here, Club Rooftop. They just renovated the large outdoor pool, but usually it's for core members only. It's only open to other members and fans briefly during special events, so, right now, besides Ye Li and Natasha, who was rocking a sexy swimsuit, nobody else was around. Ye Li was dressed normally, chilling on a recliner. Natasha was showing off, swimming gracefully in the pool and doing a little water ballet to highlight her killer figure, those legs, so smooth and pale, making waves. Quite a sight, Ye Li thought to himself, isn't she freezing? Being an agent is rough these days. Whoosh! She climbed out, water droplets clinging to her skin, her auburn hair plastered to her face, and her red lips looked like cherries on whipped cream. Tap, 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 Natasha left a trail of wet footprints, walking over to Yi Li. She faked a shiver. Brr, it's cold. Yi Li glanced at the swimsuit on the water. Yeah, no kidding. Here. He grabbed the soft brown velvet blanket next to him and handed it to the Black Widow. Natasha was a bit surprised. Normally, she expected something like, let me warm you up, followed by a cuddle and, well, you know. Thanks. Despite her confusion about whether her charm was slipping, she grabbed the blanket and dried off, then she wrapped herself up and sat next to Yi Li, giving him a curious look. Got it, okay, she was sure of it now. Barbara would never let her live this down. Lost in her thoughts, she suddenly felt an arm wrap around her waist. Under the blanket, Yi Li pulled the Black Widow closer, his face nearing hers. Natasha thought, called it, guys are all the same. She tilted her chin, ready for him to taste those lips, but, Yi Li tilted his head slightly and pressed his forehead against hers. Huh, the Black Widow opened her eyes, confused. She saw his eyes locked on hers, a demonic sheep pattern glowing in his right eye. Enhanced sheep spell. Forced dream entry, soul invasion. Yi Li rarely used this power because it drained his dream energy. Dream energy needs to be replenished by devouring dreams, and some dreams are really bizarre, even disturbing. He usually just feeds off Gwen's and Jessica's dreams to help them sleep better, so his energy reserves weren't huge, but it was enough for the widow. The same sheep pattern flashed in Natasha's eyes. Then she closed them, her head lolled, and she fell asleep in Yi Li's arms. Sleep tight, when you wake up, you'll be reborn. Phew. Barbara exhaled, took her leg off the wall, switched and stretched the other leg. Yi Li walked in from the yoga room, carrying a blanket. Natasha was here. Natasha's bare calves were dangling, a few water droplets clinging to her toes. He handed the sleeping Black Widow to Barbara. She's beat. Take care of her. Barbara took Natasha, eyeing her with a weird look, lifted the blanket slightly for a peek. Clean as a whistle. Whoa, she whispered, you put her. Yi Li nodded. Mission accomplished. He started improvising. She's great. SHIELD agents are top-notch. Huh. Barbara stared at the departing vice president, confused. Less than an hour. That's it? No way. She didn't know Yi Li was full of it. She actually thought Natasha, her colleague, had been taken care of that fast. How rude. He lectured me before, now I'm getting jumped over. Cindy had left the club and was on her way home. She and Barbara could bond over being one-upped by a friend. Even though she'd known Felicia and Yi Li were living together, seeing it firsthand was still, honk, honk. Sorry, Cindy. Yi Li, on Winnica, pulled up next to the girl. I wasn't thinking today, didn't consider your feelings. Cindy blushed slightly and nodded. It was definitely the first time she'd seen something like that. Even as a spectator, it can be startling, damn. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bring it on. Yi Li patted the back seat and said, I'll give you a ride. Cool. Cindy didn't hesitate, hopping into the back of Winnica with a light jump. Her smooth moves definitely caught the attention of people walking by, handsome guy, beautiful girl, and that badass-looking Winnica. Heads were turning. Wait, is that Spider-Silk Cindy? Someone recognized her pretty quickly. The guy ran up, smoothing down his t-shirt. Hey. I'm a huge fan. Can I get an autograph? Please. Just a heads up. Yi Li pointed at the dude's t-shirt. That's a Ghost Spider logo, not Spider-Silk. Yeah, so. Drive, Modi. The guy rolled his eyes. Can't I like both heroines? Yi Li said, you an exchange student? Passerby. Yeah, why? Because there aren't any motorcycles here. Another person asked, so, you're. Whoa. Spider Silk. Now a whole crowd was gathering. Can we get a picture? Huh? Who's the dude? Compared to Ghost Spider, Spider Silk hadn't done much hero work. Cindy wasn't feeling it. She'd only helped Gwen a few times. She was practically a club superhero. But, people are visual. Cindy was still a big deal, especially overseas. And her skin tone was perfect for a little political correctness. Her fame was kinda crazy. Virum. Ye Li twisted the throttle and hauled ass to avoid any superhero scandal rumors. Whoosh. Hey! My autograph! My autograph! Fans shouted, grabbing at their clothes. Vinica weaved through the crowd and sped down the street. Cindy rested her chin on Ye Li's shoulder, quiet, but Ye Li could feel her body trembling slightly. He knew it wasn't fear. She was holding back her spider sense, fighting an urge. Ye Li took his left hand off the handlebar and gently put his palm on her thigh, trying to reassure her. Cindy, you don't have to be so bummed out. I can stay at your place tonight. No. Cindy squeezed her legs together. The sudden touch threw her a little, and her voice shook. I'm not as easy as Felicia. Because of her race and heritage, she was way more reserved than Gwen and the others. If it wasn't for the spider sense, Cindy and Ye Li wouldn't have gotten this far so fast. Compared to Gwen, she was already dragging her feet. Okay, then. Have a good night's sleep. Ye Li pulled his hand away. Hanging out and playing games at the club lounge had been a good way to blow off some steam anyway. Li, something's up ahead. Cindy tapped his shoulder and pointed. Looks like a lowlife. I see him. At the end of the alley, a big guy with brown hair was cornering a girl, going through her purse, the dark and light green striped shirt, brown leather pants. It looked familiar to Ye Li. The system chimed in. Sandman William Baker detected, Gwen Stacy's sworn enemy. Get closer, Cindy said, her fingers already twirling spider webs. She was ready to jump in and help. Ye Li held her hand down. I got this. He's a professional headhunter. He cranked the shift knob. Vroom. Vinica blasted forward. The tires spun, and after a cloud of smoke and dust, bang. Thanks to the momentum, Vinica drove straight up the alley wall, curved around, and headed right towards Sandman, 90 degrees to the ground. Cindy was practically glued to Ye Li, her balance perfect. William Baker was happily counting the money when he heard the engine roar and a shadow loomed. Drag racers. Then he saw Vinica barreling down like a mountain. Whose sidekick is this? The car was flying. Where is your professionalism, people? Let me see the Sandman's powers. Ye Li didn't expect Vinica's to hurt the Sandman. He turns into sand, like Electro. Next, bang. The Sandman flew out like a sack and rolled on the ground like a broken puppet and felt like all his ribs were broken. He must have been wondering if he was bleeding internally. Ye Li. What about you, Shahua? Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The system's chime confirmed to Ye Li that Vinica hadn't accidentally hit the wrong person. The Sandman was indeed on the ground, coughing up blood. There was only one explanation. William Baker, like Electro, had been ambushed before he got his powers. This time, it was a literal collision. Sandman's luck was seriously messed up. Ye Li had simply spaced out. You. The girl who'd almost been robbed stared at Ye Li, clearly shaken. Ye Li gave an awkward smile. I swear, it was an accident. You believe me, right? He'd been thrown off guard, misled by the system. Who knew William was such a pushover right now? But then, something unexpected happened. The girl suddenly gasped. Ye Li. You're a superhero. What the heck was going on? Ye Li was officially confused. Cindy gently nudged 04 and asked, her eyes wide with curiosity, you're secretly a superhero too? What's your hero name? Electric Spider, *, I'd like to know as well. Ye Li straightened his posture and asked the girl, trying to play it cool, superhero? What's that about? You've got the wrong guy. No way. The fan gushed. You took down the lizard to save that little girl, fought alongside Ghost Spider and the other heroes at the Night of Heroes, teamed up with Iron Man to defeat Whiplash in Monaco, and you're super handsome, everyone calls you the coolest mortal hero. Ye Li was speechless. Coolest what now? Seriously? Even superheroes care about looks, huh? ****. I try to stay under the radar, but I still manage to stand out. Ye Li looked at the various codenames on the screen, a mix of exasperation and amusement. Most were normal: driver, driver, driver. But then there was old driver. What kind of weird name was that? Eventually, Ye Li managed to convince the fan to leave. As for the unconscious Sandman, he needed to check the reward first. You defeated Gwen Stacy's fateful enemy. As her relationship partner, choose one of the following rewards. 1. Monetary reward, $1 million USD. 2. Random reward, Deadpool's Rainbow Pony. 3. Servant reward, transform William Baker into an absolutely loyal subordinate. Figures, luck always balances out. The random rewards were trash this time. Actually, beyond trash, completely useless. After Winnica drove Ye Li and Cindy away, William Baker, still bleeding, vanished without a trace. Summons +1, as long as the system transformed someone into a summon, they'd gain their destined extraordinary powers. Ye Li didn't have to worry about ending up with a dud. The next day, a fighter transport plane flew over the ocean, circled, and landed on a mothership. Coulson escorted his idol off the plane and saw Natasha standing nearby, gazing at the sea. Lost in thought, he introduced Captain America and Black Widow. Agent Romanoff, Captain Rogers. Steve gave a brief nod. Hello. Natasha, looking slightly troubled, hesitated before replying, hello. Well, Romanoff looks preoccupied. We can talk later. Seeing that Natasha seemed distant, Coulson, with remarkable tact, steered Captain America towards Dr. Banner. As they walked, he explained to Steve, she's an excellent agent, but she just came back from a tough mission. I understand, she seems out of it. Steve replied, I've read about Agent Romanoff. Her mission history is impressive. What made this one so difficult? A particular gentleman. Coulson smiled, pulled out a flat-screen monitor, and played a video for Steve. The captain met him the day you left the base. The video showed a handsome man with a relaxed air sitting at a coffee shop, facing the shadowy director of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's him. Steve recognized Ye Li and asked, Fury said something about running the Avengers Initiative by this gentleman, and having him involved. Why isn't he on the plan's roster? Well, Chairman Yi is talented and interesting, but he doesn't have any real superpowers. He just knows a few tricks. Coulson continued, the version that went to the Ghost Spider Club was an abridged one. If we want to partner with them, we have to prove our commitment. Steve asked, Ghost Spider Club? It's a new superhero group, like our Avengers, but they're already pretty famous. There are 4 superheroes in the club, Ghost Spider, Black Cat, Night Knight, and Spider Silk. They are several powerful young people. Coulson's tone betrayed a hint of admiration for these young heroes. You might not believe this, Captain, but Night Knight, Jessica Yi, is the club's honorary president and Mr. Ye's sister. And Cindy, Spider Silk, is her classmate, also an honorary president of the club. They're both about to graduate high school. Steve chuckled, that is surprising. They're impressive kids. So Fury's trying to recruit them through Mr. Yi. You nailed it, Captain. Coulson explained, but you also saw that Natasha's mission with him didn't go smoothly. If it were up to me, I wouldn't send them into battle. As good as those kids are, they're still young. Steve said, agreeing with Ye Li's approach, we older guys should deal with the tough enemies. Fury's approach wasn't well thought out. Coulson nodded. Director Fury's thinking about the bigger picture. This crisis is unique, after all. Chapter 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, what's this about? Banner greeted them with a smile, as Coulson and Captain America walked beside him. He glanced at the screen in Coulson's hand, stopping short. Wait, is that Ye Li? Why are you watching his videos? Does he have something to do with S.H.I.E.L.D's plan? Coulson turned to Captain America. Why does everyone keep asking that? Steve, still reading Dr. Banner's file, asked, Dr. Banner, you know Ye Li too? Banner replied cheerfully, I used to be his assistant. He's a good guy. Were you ever in a club? A club? Nah. Banner waved his hand dismissively. I just messed around with paint for him. He seems pretty popular. Steve reminded Coulson, we should focus on the mission, Coulson. Coulson gestured. Let's head to the bridge. They've already started tracking. We can all go together. Asterisk whoosh. Whoosh, a massive turbine fan churned the water. Captain America Steve, watching the spray, wondered, is that a submarine? So, they want to lock me in an airtight tin can deep underwater, Dr. Banner joked, walking to the edge of the deck to take a look. The wind from the fan whipped his clothes. He smiled. Nope. Looks like the situation's even worse than that. Asterisk whoosh, Shield's helicarrier revealed itself, rising from the sea and piercing the clouds. This way. A moment later, she retracted her hand. The rat talisman, which had been imprinted on the wall, vanished in a flash, only to reappear moments later. It was back in Ye Li's hands, not that he was planning anything big. Just a little something, it might come in handy. He probably didn't expect there to be two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in the Avengers, Hawkeye and Black Widow. Hawkeye got mind-controlled by Loki and ran off. And Black Widow, while Ye Li didn't completely control her, he'd left a few subconscious suggestions in her mind. Late that night, a banquet was underway near the North Building. To the sound of violins, Loki, dressed in a gentleman's suit, used the Mind Stone staff as a cane and approached the banquet hall guard from behind. The guard heard the footsteps and turned around. Asterisk snap, Loki swung the staff, the gem striking the guard's forehead. The Mind Stone took effect, rendering him stunned and under control. Then, Loki forced the target, the person who could open the iridium vault, to press his face against the retinal scanner. Ugh. Ah. Attack. Run. A scream triggered a panicked stampede, the guests fleeing in every direction. Loki watched the fearful humans scatter, a proud smile spreading across his face. Upstairs in the North Building, in a drawing room and bedroom, Ye Li sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, experiencing everything outside through his senses. On the canvas was a family portrait of the heirs, looking like sinister European aristocrats of old. The super spider sense had shown him the scene, and he was capturing it. This ability was perfect for Ye Li. Even if normal people saw similar images, they couldn't reproduce them on canvas with such detail. Gwen leaned against Ye Li, back to back, holding a sheet of music and humming a new tune. She was working on the band's new music. High school was almost over, and the band was planning to move beyond being just a campus group. Li. Still humming, she tilted her head back playfully, letting strands of golden hair fall over Ye Li's shoulders. The fabric of her shirt stretched tight across her chest. Li, what are you drawing? He felt the smooth skin against his neck. Ye Li saw Gwen's upturned face out of the corner of his eye, a warm smile on her lips and her restless blue eyes wandering across the canvas. Gwen's unique abilities let her see it more clearly than a normal person, even upside down. Is that the heir family Cindy mentioned, the ones Morlun belongs to? Just a bunch of mutated vampires. Huh. Li, how do you know? Look how much they look alike. Yeah, a little. Exactly. Ye Li turned his head and looked at Gwen leaning cutely against his shoulder. That charming gesture made him lean closer to her pretty face. Well. And soon Ye Li had breached the pearly gates and led his army straight in, deep in enemy territory. His forces moved like a snake, slaughtering the enemy until they were stripped of their armor. The crowd fled in panic. Loki's costume materialized around him and he quickly adorned his reindeer suit. He used illusionary clones to surround the panicked humans. Kneel before me. The crowd continued to scatter. I said. Loki frowned. Kneel. Pronounced like meow, meow. Loki, what are you yelling about? Ye Li heard the commotion, put Gwen's cardigan around her shoulders, and went to the window. He opened the curtains a crack, looked down, and saw the reindeer prince. If you're having so much fun, I'll give you something to really play with. He glanced at a potted plant. With a flick of his mind, light and shadow flickered. He used the snake talisman to teleport and the chicken talisman to move the potted plant outside. How hard could it be? Aren't you naturally born to be this way? This is the unspoken truth of mankind. The temptation of freedom robs you of joy in life and you long for servitude. You are crazy about pursuing power and status. Loki began his slavery speech to the captured crowd in the small square. In fact, you are full of servility in your bones, and you will succumb to my rule sooner or later. Crash. Suddenly, the sound of a porcelain pot shattering echoed through the square. The potted plant had avoided the illusions and hit Loki on the head, snapping his neck to the side and stunning him. What the? Loki, dazed, yelled, "Who attacked me? Show yourself." But the crowd in the square was staring at his helmet, trying not to laugh. What are you looking at? Loki reached up and touched his helmet. The broken pot had left a plant, something that looked like a chrysanthemum, stuck to his head with soil, making him look ridiculous, an extremely insulting attack. Whose prank was that? Just wait until I get my hands on you. Loki clutched the plant, feeling humiliated. He was the god of mischief. Upstairs, Ye Li chuckled at Loki's anger and turned to close the curtains. He wasn't that interested in the Infinity Stones. He might take it later, but he was not in a rush to force it. After all, those things were as common as paperweights in Kang's Time Variance Authority. But then the system popped up a new quest, detecting a major event. Defeat Loki, the god of lies, and receive random, extraordinary rewards. Can be completed by extraordinary characters with established relationships. An additional quest. Ye Li thought for a moment, understanding why the Guanhu system had issued the quest. While Loki wasn't any of the girl's destined enemies, big events would always affect Gwen and the others, and the rewards were always extraordinary. At least he didn't have to worry about ending up with something useless like Deadpool's My Little Pony. What's going on out there? Gwen had gotten dressed and walked over to him in bare feet. She placed her hands on his shoulders and looked out. Is it another supervillain? An alien super reindeer man? Ye.Li teased Loki's appearance and smiled at Gwen. It's your turn, little spider. If she could be lazy, why not be? Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Click, click, click. Gwen threw on her ghost spider suit and jumped out the window, buzz. As she fell, the pink and purple lines on her suit lit up, a beacon in the night. The partygoers in the square below immediately noticed her. It's Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider to the rescue. She's so awesome. Ghost Spider's here. Elkman, you're toast. Gwen still held the top spot on the heroine popularity charts, though Felicia, in second place, was gaining fast. After all, who could resist a cat-eared girl? Whoosh! About 40 meters above the ground, Gwen shot a web, stuck to the banquet hall roof, and swung down in front of Loki. Did you smash that flower pot? Loki demanded, glaring at Gwen. He'd planned to get captured, but not like this. Gwen landed gracefully, straightened up, and asked, what flower pot? Still playing dumb. Loki flickered and vanished, an illusion. He reappeared behind Gwen. The soul stone pulsed with blue light, but nothing happened. Loki tilted his head, confused. How is that possible? Gwen reacted instantly, whirled around, and kicked him in the gut. Bang! Loki's green cloak billowed as he tumbled away. Why'd you sneak up behind me? Gwen, though curious why he hadn't attacked, yelled to the crowd, everybody, run. Damn it! Loki stared at the Mind Stone scepter, furious at the Chitauri. They'd promised this thing was powerful, but it was useless. Nice. Ye Li, watching the fight, was pleased with the Absolute Soul Shield's performance. System-made products were always top-notch, no fakes. Alright. Loki forgot all about pretending to lose. He raised the scepter and aimed a blue blast at Gwen. He was determined to make it work. Universe, lend me your power. Gwen quickly cast the golden light spell, creating a small golden shield on her forearm to block the energy. Yi Li subtly used the rooster talisman's telekinesis to weaken the blast. Why subtly? If he could have used the absolute zero ice power to completely stop the particles, but that would have been too obvious. The rooster talisman was enough. Bang. Between the golden shield, Yi Li's help, and the suit's defenses, the blue energy shattered the golden light and dissipated, barely scratching Gwen's suit. After all, Loki was only using the staff to make superficial attacks with the space stone's energy. The blue light around the mind stone was from the space stone. Try this. Loki wasn't giving up. That flower pot had really ticked him off. He fired another blue beam, less focused and more diffuse. Gwen, just after blocking the last attack, was enveloped in the blue light before she could retaliate. She tried to move, noticing the space around her had thickened, making movement difficult. Excellent. Loki appeared behind Gwen, a dagger in his hand, aiming for her waist. Suddenly. Whoa. Mr. Reindeer, don't stab me in the kidney. At the last second, Gwen's spider sense blared a warning, and she rerouted some golden light. She relied on her body to warn, and the golden light condensed right where the dagger would hit. Ding. The golden light shattered, the thrust was blocked, but the knife still poked a tiny hole, 2 millimeters wide, in her suit. Yi Li frowned. With a wave of his hand, he stopped the movement of the blue energy particles, causing them to dissipate. Gone. Ghost. Activate lightsaber module attack. Gwen reacted instantly, activating the imitation lightsaber weapon on her back. Zheng. 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 Four thin mechanical limbs unfolded, pink blades blazing to life, and thrust towards Loki. Whoosh. 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 The air whistled. Loki only had time to raise his staff and block one of the blades. Ding. The staff Thanos gave him was tough stuff. The point where it hit the lightsaber only turned black and red, it didn't melt. Ack. Loki screamed. The other 3 claws broke through his divine body. They didn't penetrate deep, but the extreme heat was agony. Clang. The staff hit the ground. Loki turned into 3 identical phantoms. Gwen hesitated, unsure which to attack. Her spider sense wasn't as all-seeing as Yi Li's super spider sense. She couldn't tell which Loki was real. The phantoms weren't close together, and the mechanical claws couldn't cover them all. Heh. Mortals could never see through his divine illusion. Just as Loki thought he had a breather, Yi Li's voice echoed in Gwen's head. Left. Gwen was startled. Li's voice. What's happening? Trusting Yi Li, she deactivated the lightsaber blades and activated the web shooters. Rustle. The 4 claws shot webs, covering Loki on the left, trapping him. Hey! Hey! What is this white stuff? Loki was forced to reveal his true form. Get this disgusting stuff off me. Gwen wrinkled her nose and pouted. He'd almost stabbed her, and now he was calling her webs disgusting. Humph. She'd show him what Ghost Spider could do. Zitsy. Gwen walked up to the Asgardian prince, the 4 mechanical claws glowing pink, inching closer. You. What are you doing? Loki trembled and swallowed. That weapon could hurt him. Ha. Now you're scared. Gwen sneered, then swung the 4 claws down. Too late. That light flashed. Loki squeezed his eyes shut and screamed, but it didn't hurt. He opened his eyes. Gwen had cut a section of the web. He was holding his staff. That blue energy. Gwen eyed the Mind Stone scepter. It all comes from this. Looked pretty powerful. She made a decision. She'd take the scepter, give it to Yi Li. Protect him with it. Give it back. Loki shouted stubbornly. It's mine. Now it's mine. Gwen tucked the scepter under her arm, then she pushed the white cocoon. Loki rolled across the ground. That's what you get, alien. Gwen waved. Bye, Mr. Reindeer. Wait here for the cops. Buzz. A Quinjet transport flew into the sky. Click, the hatch opened. Steve, in his Captain America uniform, jumped, using his vibranium shield to absorb the impact. He landed gracefully. "Ms. Ghost Spider, you can't take that scepter." Steve wanted to keep the Mind Stone scepter. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and others who were being controlled by Loki needed it to save them. "Gimme." "No, sir." Gwen wagged her finger. "This is a present for my boyfriend." Whoosh. She raised her wrist, a web stuck to a building. Gwen swung away. "Wait," suddenly. Steve threw the shield, trying to cut the web. Bang. A repulsor blast hit the shield, knocking it aside. Iron Man's armor dropped from the sky, hovering. "Let her go, Cap." "Tony." Steve was confused. "Whose side are you on?" "We need that." Tony opened his faceplate, glancing at Loki, who was still writhing on the ground. "Don't fight over toys. We've got bigger fish to fry, right?" "I just want her to." Steve watched Gwen swing away. "What about the scepter?" "I gotta figure it out." All right. Tony said, exasperated. "I'll talk to Li." "Li, what was that sound just now?" Gwen, swinging between buildings, called Ye Li. "Did you call me?" "I didn't get the alert from Ghost." "Gwen, have you heard of telepathy? It means our feelings are so strong, we can communicate with our minds." Gwen blushed. He was doing it again. But, she was happy. She swung around for a while. Gwen returned to the North Tower. Ye Li was standing at the open French window, as if he'd been waiting patiently for her. Gwen felt a surge of happiness. Li had been waiting for her. He really cared, but he couldn't catch a cold. She slid down the web. Gwen turned lightly, entered the house, and thoughtfully closed the window. "Li, I brought you a gift." She gave Ye Li the Mind Stone scepter, pulled off the head of her suit, and smiled brightly. "I snagged it from the alien bad guy. Looks powerful. You can use it to defend yourself." Ye Li took the scepter and turned it over. "Nice stick. I like it." He set the gem-encrusted staff aside. He put his arm around Gwen's waist and turned her around. "There's a little hole. I'll have Tony patch it up." Hee, Li, you think Mr. Stark's a tailor?" Gwen looked at the small hole on the side of her suit. The tiny, 2mm hole was barely visible. "It's better not to bother others. The club has acquired a lot of tech companies, so it shouldn't be a problem to fix a small hole." I hate to say it, but Tony's tech is in a league of its own." Ye Li smiled, reaching for the zipper. "Take it off. He'll be here soon anyway." "Hey, Li, don't take advantage of me." "Wait. Close the curtains first. P.S. Poor results. I beg Yen Zhu and Yu Yen to support me with flowers, evaluation votes, monthly votes, and comments. Thank you very much." Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gwen. What about the song? Jessica, still buzzing with energy, handed Gwen a sheet of music. "Think this'll work for graduation?" "Oh." Gwen rubbed the sleep from her eyes, took the music, and started to read. This isn't your usual style. Aren't you into rock?" My brother helped me write it." Well, he wrote most of it." Actually, he wrote all of it." I knew it." Gwen unfolded the sheet music, cleared her throat, and softly sang a few lines. "I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming." "Wow, what's it called?" "The Climb," Jessica said, her eyes shining. "Gwen, you have an amazing voice. Please, sing this song." "But I'm a drummer." Jessica said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Your battle suit has 4 robotic arms, right? Perfect for playing drums." Gwen covered her face with the music. "You always have the craziest ideas." Whoa, out of breath. Jessica lowered the sheet music, then proudly pulled out several more. "Look, Gwen, I have more." Did Li write all these too? Gwen took them, examining each one. She was blown away by Ye Li's talent. How can anyone be this good? Gwen had no idea that Ye Li and these songs were all ripped from his past life. Additional tasks completed. Random rewards being distributed. Distribution completed. Obtain absolute tracking suit module. Absolute tracking. Lock onto a target as an anchor point for tracking. One anchor point takes effect, with a standard round-trip time of 24 hours, early return available. Time to test it out. Ye Li activated the new anchor point, targeting Gwen. He could see her with Jessica, Felicia, Mary Jane, and Betty Brant. Wow, so many girls, rehearsing together. He could now teleport to any location within 100 meters of Gwen and automatically return after 24 hours. It seemed similar to the Snake Charm's teleportation function, but this thing ignored obstacles and could even travel through the multiverse. He already had ideas about how to use it. After grasping the tracking template, Ye Li picked up the scepter and examined it. He stared at the Mind Stone, wrapped in blue energy. Activating his telekinesis, he pulled it free from the Space Stone's energy. Spells could do the same, but the Infinity Stone wasn't super useful in his hands. Still, now that he had it, he wasn't giving it back. Keeping a few Infinity Stones around meant at least stopping Thanos from snapping his fingers. Soul Gem detected. Load. The system prompted. Ye Li selected yes. The black ring on his hand shot out slender green lines, pulling the golden Mind Stone toward it. Under the system's influence, the gem shrank and embedded itself into the ring. He clenched his fist. An invisible force, centered on Sunnyvale Manor, spread to an unknown distance. Every creature caught in its wake had a flash of golden light in their eyes. He could control them anytime he wanted. This was way stronger than Loki's version. Next, Ye Li touched a computer. The Mind Stone's power surged in. Combined with his hacking skills, any online security was like tissue paper. Secrets that were previously impossible to access flooded his mind. He didn't bother testing the energy beams. S.H.I.L.D. was probably sending someone over soon. For cool novels, go to Faloo Novel Network. They were asking for it. He saw that the staff only had blue energy left. The gems on Ye Li's bracelet glowed golden. He also injected some of the Mind Stone's energy into the Space Stone's energy. Originally, Loki pretended to get captured to use the Mind Staff to cause chaos at S.H.I.E.L.D. Gwen taking the staff had unintentionally saved S.H.I.E.L.D. from that mess, but if Fury didn't know what was good for him, he'd pay the price. Dang dang dang. Come in, Tony. I know it's you. Todd at the door unlocked automatically under Ye Li's control. Kakaka. Tony walked in, munching loudly from a bag of snacks. Hey, Li, I'm here on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D. Click, to negotiate. You're the negotiator. Ye Li said with a smile. Could you at least try to be serious? I never negotiate successfully anyway. Tony sat down, unfazed, and eyed the scepter on the table. The director wants it, huh? Ye Li looked at Tony's casual clothes and said, not wearing the cool suit? Just fought some hammer-wielding dude, touching up the paint. Tony offered the snacks. Want some? No, thanks. So, what's your play? Take it. Just want S.H.I.E.L.D. to help me acquire a company. Ye Li looked at the blue glow from the table, a mysterious smile on his face. S.H.I.L.D. brought it on themselves, and he was happy to watch. As for which company to win, just a random condition. He wasn't letting Fury get away with anything. Looks like I might succeed for once. Tony grinned, picking up the scepter. If you're being this easy, you've got something up your sleeve. But that's Fury's problem. He was just a consultant to S.H.I.E.L.D. helping Nick Fury talk was already a big favor. Whether it worked or if there were problems, he didn't care. Wanna play some cards? After business, Ye Li invited. I've got a Cyber Dragon deck you might like. Tony hesitated, but declined. Nah, gotta get back to S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, saving the world. Maybe later. Alright, help me fix this. What? Hey. Think I'm a tailor? 100 million. Chapter 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tony just bailed. Thor spun his hammer and landed at the manor door. He'd heard about his beloved brother, rushed to Earth in a hurry, even threw down with Iron Man and Captain America in the process. Once they cleared up the misunderstanding, Thor made sure to visit Matilda, that brave little girl, bringing the Asgardian weapons he'd promised. Since he'd wrecked the Rainbow Bridge himself, trekking to the dwarf realm was too much hassle, so he just grabbed something from Odin's vault, a sword. It could grow or shrink to fit the user, seemed perfect for Matilda, so Thor snagged it. Hearing about Loki, he'd rushed to Midgard with the sword, but hadn't even had a chance to test out its abilities. "Hear ye, Asgard's Thor has arrived," Thor bellowed at the manor. "Is Matilda around?" That this was the address Coulson had given him. It had to be right. After a beat, Silver Sable showed up at the door with a couple of guys, eyeing the beefy god. "Thor. We have no record of you being invited." Thump, thump, then heavy footsteps started shaking the ground, the destroyer armor lumbered into view, and Matilda skipped out. "Uncle Blamey, you came." "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Matilda. Danger." Spotting the rampaging destroyer, Thor swung his hammer. "My sneaky brothers even dug up the destroyer. Huh. Xiao Mie's being good." Matilda patted the destroyer's metal head. "Xiao Mie, say hi to the strange uncle." *ZZZZZZZT star, the destroyer raised an iron arm at Thor. 450. Then flipped him the bird. Thor. What the heck was going on? He was lost. Oops. Matilda bent her fingers and tapped the destroyer's smart head. "Wrong one, not that." *ZZZZZZZT star, the destroyer raised its other iron arm, flipping Thor 2 middle fingers. What was the big deal? "All good, that's how Ye Li programmed it to say hello. What harm could the destroyer do?" Thor, however, was convinced something was wrong. He turned to Silver Sable. "What does that gesture mean? How do you Earthlings say hello?" "We Earthlings." Silver Sable gave Thor a weird look, seeing he was genuinely clueless. Her silver eyes gleamed, mischief brewing. "Oh, right," that she fed Thor a line. "It's a really friendly greeting, everyone on Earth uses it, especially the cool people. You are who you hang out with." Under Ye Li's charismatic influence, even the icy Silver Sable was getting a little devious. *sip***sip. Ah. Barbara delicately wiped her beloved bear-patterned coffee cup with a cloth, taking sips now and then. Ye Li couldn't help but glance at her. Her empire was about to crumble and she was all chill. Shouldn't she be freaking out? Get back to work. Seeing Ye Li looking her way, Barbara perked up. Maybe she still had it. Maybe this bad boy finally noticed her. Now that she thought about it, it stung being one-upped by a colleague. She was the first one, either undercover or intimate. Why did Natasha get all the good stuff? A strange competitive itch. She put down the bare cup, grabbed a wine glass, poured herself a drink, and strolled over to Ye Li. "Drinking all alone? What's up?" Barbara looked around, confirming it was just them, then snuggled up to him. "Where are your little girlfriends?" "Drinking." Ye Li gestured to his juice. "This counts, right? What's the big deal? Why was she the only one here?" Gwen, Jessica, and Felicia had just finished rehearsing their performance, then came back to work with him. After dinner, they were wiped and taking a nap. Guess Barbara misunderstood. But whatever, Ye Li clinked his glass of juice against her wine. "Cheers." "Cheers." Ye Li took a swig of juice. "So, got any special plans for me?" "No plans, actually." Barbara changed her mind and invited, "If you're free, how about some yoga?" "Yoga?" Ye Li kept the smile plastered on his face. "Nah, I'm not into dude yoga, but I can help you with yours." "Then you're on." Barbara hooked her high heels around Ye Li's feet, looped her arm around his, and they drank together. Ye Li sipped his juice, she chugged her wine. Soon, she was getting bolder. "Well." Barbara pulled away, a little tipsy. "I think I'm falling for you." "Lose the act." Ye Li sipped his juice to clear Barbara's wine breath, then took her glass. Weren't you gonna do yoga? Drink any more, you'll be plastered. Right. Barbara shook her head, clearing her head. She was planning on yoga, not if she was drunk. Okay, I know a great place to do yoga. Barbara took Ye Li's hand and led him away from the bar. Well, Ghost Spider's handiwork. Nick Fury stared at Loki, trapped in a webbed cage, his expression a mix of emotions. The good news: the club was a legit hero organization, efficient enough to snag Loki this fast. The bad news: the mind control staff was now in Ghost Spider's hands, and who knew if the club would give it back. In the cage, Loki looked glum. His plan had gone sideways, the setup messed up. The staff spell had suddenly lost its juice. Sure, it came back after a bit, but it was much weaker. No biggie, he could only handle so much Mind Stone power anyway. Barely made a dent. The thing was, the ones who stole the staff and the ones who caged him weren't the same people. That was a problem. You don't look too happy. Fury decided to take out his frustration on Loki. Didn't you say humans were weak? Now look at you, taken down by humans and tied up like an idiot. Ha, so what? You after the cosmic cube? Loki might be stuck in spider silk, looking ridiculous, but he could still needle the bald guy. Ooh, missing out must sting, huh? You were so close to grabbing the cube. Nick Fury frowned, glaring at Loki. If it weren't for Thor, the Thunder God, he'd be grilling this guy hard. Director, Mr. Stark's got the scepter. It's in the research lab. Hearing the report in his earpiece, Fury relaxed. That was good news. He shot Loki a look, then turned to leave, eager to check out the scepter. After Nick Fury left, Loki lowered his head, a smirk playing on his lips. Good news, huh? The Ghost Spider Club had expanded a lot. Barbara even had her own spacious yoga room. Right now, she was in yoga gear, sprawled on the mat. Ye Li pulled up a chair, settling in to watch, showing no interest in joining. How's this pose? Barbara wanted to show off her moves in front of Ye Li. She put her forearms on the ground, arching back, and planting her toes on top of her head in scorpion pose. Impressive, never seen it before, huh? Impressive, sure. Ye Li rubbed his chin. But Gwen's got that down pat. Huh? Barbara switched to fish pose, pressing her ear to her knee. What about this? She practiced that yesterday. Barbara didn't believe him, and tried another. This time, her favorite, elbow will pose. She hasn't done this one, right? This style. Ye Li hated to hurt Barbara's feelings, but he had to be honest. Felicia's been obsessed with it lately. Thump. Barbara, sprawled on the mat like a beached whale, said in despair, what are these girls? Ye Li shrugged. He was actually holding back. With Gwen and Felicia's flexibility, they'd created fish poses that were physically impossible for normal humans. Barbara might be a top jiu-jitsu expert, but she couldn't compete with superhumans. S.H.I.L.D. Headquarters, Helicarrier, Main Control Room, Black Widow Natasha, Captain America Steve, and Dr. Hulk Banner. 3 members of the Avengers Initiative, sat around the table, hashing things out. Dr. Banner did most of the talking, the others listened. He was the only one who knew the theory. I think his plan involves some kind of machinery. Dr. Banner mused. He had Barton steal the iridium. What do they need iridium for? It can be used as a stabilizer. Tony strutted in, answering Banner's question, then turned to Hill, who was busy bossing agents around. I brought the scepter and dumped it in the control room. Fury should thank me. Hill nodded. Mr. Stark, we appreciate your help. No need for the fanfare, just keep S.H.I.E.L.D. from hacking my system. Stark waved his hand. You have no idea how it felt to have Coulson's bald head pop up while I was getting cozy with Pepper. It's our shield, Mr. Stark. Hill corrected him. I'll relay this to the director. We should be uniting forces. I'm plenty united, otherwise I'd be on a date with Pepper, or playing cards with Lee, instead of hanging around here. As soon as Tony showed up, he took control. He perched on the table. Let's get down to business. With iridium as a stabilizer, the new portal won't collapse like the one at the lab. Plus, depending on Loki's needs, that portal could get bigger and last longer. Exactly. Just then, Thor, who'd finished handing out gifts, stepped in. My brother intends to lead the Chitauri army through this portal and attack Earth. Steve, Chitauri. From outer space, Tony greeted Thor. Seeing Tony complimenting him on the hammer, Thor flipped him the bird. Hey! Tony! Thor didn't notice his expression, and flicked Steve off. Hey, we haven't met. Steve! Steve! Looking at their faces, Thor beamed. Guess they're surprised by my manners. Glad I learned some etiquette. He turned, pointing his middle finger at Hill. Hey, lady! Slap! Hill's hand flashed out, a stinging blow, Thor. Didn't even hurt, but he was floored. Clap clap star, Tony applauded. Good hit. Hey! I don't hit women. Thor said angrily to Hill. You owe me an explanation. Hill rolled her eyes, too lazy to argue. Captain America was more understanding. He asked hesitantly, Thor, did you mess up? Get over here. Just as Ye Li was reminiscing about Gwen and the others contorting themselves, the blonde beauty kicked him lightly with her bare foot. Didn't you promise to help me with my yoga? Sure thing, I'm a pro at that. Ye Li didn't refuse. Barbara secretly psyched herself up. Come on, Barbara, even if she's being outdone, she won't give up. Inspired by Natasha, Barbara embraced her feelings. She liked Ye Li for himself, not for the mission. She was going to fight for her feelings. After all, there had been plenty of agents who had gotten involved with their targets. P.S. Poor ratings. Gikian Zhu Yuyen, thanks for all the flowers, votes, monthly votes, and comments. Chapter 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soul. Steve was more tactful, explaining to Soul it wasn't a friendly gesture. Just listen to Team Perfect explain. Thor looked embarrassed. I just went off to sulk in a corner. Looks like you guys are getting along. After checking the scepter, Nick Fury entered the main control room, glancing at Iron Man and saying, Tony, get off the table, will ya? Alright. Tony hopped down, restless. He suddenly pointed at a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and whined to Fury, hey. Fury, that guy was playing a game. Thought no one saw, but I caught him. Natasha then asked Nick Fury, what about Daredevil? Nick Fury shook his head. Matt Murdock turned down Agent 04's invite. No biggie, we're not short on talent. Barbara's just as good. Natasha, you gonna call Barbara back in? If we need to. Fury said, his expression serious. These are critical times. Every S.H.I.E.L.D. member is on standby. Ooh. Tony smirked at Black Widow. Lee's personal bodyguard. She's an agent too. Oh, I see how it is, Fury. You think I'd rat her out? Doesn't matter anymore. Fury walked to the console and began working it. The scepter shows us Mr. Ye's good faith. Barbara's deep cover can be cancelled any time. He projected the scepter's image onto the screen. Tony, Dr. Banner, you guys are on this. Ugh. Barbara stretched, yawning. She was wrapped in a white sheet, her bare feet touched the floor, the soft fabric brushed against the ground, a glimpse of her shapely legs. She walked to the window and peeked through the curtains. Golden sunlight streamed into the room. Morning already. A message from S.H.I.E.L.D. appeared on a small comm device on the bedside table. Stand by. Cancel deep cover at the club if needed. Crap. Forgot about that thing. Barbara tiptoed cautiously to the bedside table, wanting to stash the device first. Using her gymnastics and jiu-jitsu skills, she quietly, almost made it back to the bed. Just as her finger touched the target, a hand grabbed her wrist. Morning. Nice yoga moves. Barbara's eyes widened, and she quickly pulled her hand away, saying a little too casually, morning. Want breakfast? I'll make something. You can sleep in. Nah. Ye Li exhaled and pulled her into his arms. You're my breakfast. Can I try this sword? Sure. Matilda handed the fairy sword to Jessica. It glows. Cool. Jessica held the sword, and the blade lit up, brighter than the morning sun. Unlike Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, anyone could wield this sword. What's it called? Oh, sorry, the old guy didn't tell me. Matilda looked at the sword and said, since it glows, why not call it a lightsaber? Nah, that name's taken. Jessica pulled a small black stick from her belt, pressed the switch, and a blue beam shot out. It was the prototype lightsaber Ye Li got from Tony. She held a glowing sword in each hand, comparing them. Matilda, which one's stronger? Matilda shook her head. Jessica, don't mess with them. You'll break them. Good point. Jessica, afraid of damaging her precious lightsaber, turned it off and put it away. She held up Matilda's sword. Let's call this one the White Light Sword. I'll take you to Findlay and get him to have a scabbard made for it. You want to tell me something? Ye Li asked Barbara softly. Barbara pursed her lips, hesitating. Should she reveal she was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent? Seeing her reluctance, Ye Li rephrased. What's more important to you, your career or your life? What do you mean? Barbara was shocked. Did he guess her secret? I mean, maybe you can have both. Seeing Barbara still hesitant, Ye Li hugged her tighter. With how close we are now, do you still want to be my personal bodyguard? Yes. I mean, I want to. Barbara stammered. Knock, knock, knock. Jessica's voice broke the mood. Bro, you up? It's late, Ye Li groaned inwardly, that little brat. Always messing things up, just wait till later.